Not sure where I lost you, but I have broke this hand, and been recovering for a month. So now my house is a mess because I've not been able to do anything for a month. I've been getting water from shore on my dinghy. I've got my heater set up because it got really cold. So basically, I heat sand and salt in that pot over my wood fire and then bring that inside when it's about 200, 300 degrees. Hot enough to burn the shit out of everything. Bring that in and set that down, and that warms up the area significantly. I got a good 5 degrees in here, warmer than the outside temperature. So, downside is I got black all over me. That's a clean hand because I just jumped in the water for the first time in a month. Because you got to be able to get out on your own. Drug anchor one night, woke up over by the bushes, about 60 yards away. Called my neighbors, a nice French-Canadian couple over here on Old Hat, 60-foot trawler, 55, I don't remember, a big trawler. And he pulled his dinghy down and then came over and got me. And he pulled my anchor while I motored over and got it reset over back where I was, where I still am. Had basically boring New Year, I guess you could say, because I had a broken hand. I was part of the reason I stopped filming was I was distracted by a girl, and that went pretty good for a while, and then it didn't. And so now we're on the outs, and I'm still healing, trying to figure out what my next step is. But I felt so good getting in the water and having my first actual ocean bath in about a month and a half, because I was using her shower and being spoiled. And jumping in today reminded me how much I really enjoy just the ocean and floating and swimming around. So I spent about a half an hour swimming around, looking at my boat, looking at the barnacles growing on my boat, looking at the reef forming under my boat. That's the big thing. I keep talking about hauling out to do repairs, but the biggest repair is doing the bottom job and getting some good paint on there so that I'm not growing barnacles overnight. It's not overnight, it's about 3 days. And I'll have new barnacles after I scrape and scrub. So whatever the bottom paint is on here, it's old and dead. Battery's about dead too. Let's see. You can see holes in the ceiling, or where there were holes, and now there's very minute water leak. Actually, that one leaks because when the hurricane came through, the last hurricane, and we had a good 14 hours of solid rain, my tanks were filled up in about a half an hour. I had a full quarter-inch of flow over the top of the fill space, container, valve, opening, whatever it's called. But that much water just sitting on deck, because it was coming down faster than it could go off, allowed it to seep through there. So that's just a crack in the gel coat down to an old hole. Looks like the new gel coat's been applied over the top and all of that. But until I get that carpet off, I'm not really going to know about what to do to the inside. And I did not fix that inside when I had everything down, as I probably should have, but that's okay. That can be taken care of when I do my haul out. Chances are I'm going to pull my rigging down and see about replacing my rigging, because it's definitely that time. Got to make sure I got materials to do that before I go planning too much. And thankfully I have received a chunk of cash, which I'm going to promptly spend and buy the materials to do the repairs to my boat that need to be done, that are the important things. Rewiring it, found a few more issues with the wiring. So rewiring my boat, taking everything out, starting from the ground up, and starting over with it. Removing most of the through hulls so that I have one per side. That's it. I don't need more than that. One on the port side for seawater for the toilet, and I'll put that on a foot pump, hopefully, or maybe not. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. But definitely want seawater going through my toilet for the port side, and although, yeah, we'll see. And then on the starboard side, I want one for the kitchen and the water maker. And that's it. That's the only thing I need through holes for. Transducers and all of that can go through the hull these days, so I'm not worried about that. It's an interesting reflection. Oh, let's see. Oh, playing with it. Yep. So, there's all that then. I'm not sure what's next for me. I've talked to a place in the Bahamas to go do my haul out there. It'd be about $2,000 to do the haul out, put back in, workspace, getting into the Bahamas, the whole 9 yards. Should be right around $2,000. Materials for the reef, for the repairs and rewiring is about $2,000 to $2,500. Paint and gel coat and bottom paint is about another $1,500 to $2,000. Extra goodies that I want to have on hand for things like I really want some underwater lights. So to get good ones, those are like $500, which is ridiculous because it's just wiring and sealing. So me being me and my brain being what it is, I look at what's actually happening and I say that price is ridiculous and I'm going to try to do something else. So I've been cogitating that and thinking it through and trying to figure out what I can do. And my idea at this point is to basically glass some LEDs into the hull. But I'm still looking at that and thinking about that, and that may or may not happen. But I've got some white LEDs that are on a block and could basically be wired in straight. And the plus is they don't have to go into the regular system. I can just stick a 9-volt battery on each side and be done. Have that with a simple charging unit, so it's a self-contained system, which is kind of what I want to do with all of my stuff. I'd like my lighting to all be LED on its own battery, all self-contained. That adds a lot of complexity to my system. Instead of one 12-volt system that runs the whole boat, having multiple systems set up so that if one thing dies, it doesn't take everything with it. If one battery bank dies, I still have lights. If this section dies, I can still do that. So part of that is what's been going through my head and how I'm planning and thinking about things. As far as fiberglass repairs to everything, I'm not really going to know until I have the boat soda blasted and have it down to the fiberglass to know what's going on the bottom. I anticipate about probably 6 square feet of patching as a minimum. I'm bringing enough glass. I'm planning for enough glass to reshape the transition on the bridge deck bottom between the sleeping platform in the master cabin down to the actual bridge deck, which has about a 4.5-5-inch flat lip, and I have some stress cracks in the gel coat across there from being towed by the Coast Guard, which have, let's just say, hasn't made me confident. There are no cracks on the inside. There's no discoloration. Thankfully, that's not been painted on the inside, so I can see that there's, no real cracking in the fiberglass there on the inside. But the fact that the gel coat cracked on the outside tells me that there's definitely been some extra stresses there, and a slight redesign is in order. So my plan is to, instead of having that come out and up and then out, My plan is to put a roll of fiberglass in there with filler and a bunch of other shit and support, and then have it more of a sloped up. So it'll come flat, slope, and flat. Hopefully that'll give me a little bit less slap. Either way, it'll be stronger because that stress joint will be from this section to this section spread as far as a load spreader, which is basically how I'm looking at this repair. Is I'm just spreading the load, reinforcing the seam and spreading the load out a few inches on either side to give it more support. It still has to flex. Has to. It's a boat in the water. It's gonna flex. So you have to plan for it and you have to allow for it. Now, that being said, there's lots of different ideas on boat building. A lot of people are like, no flex, it has to be solid. But if you think about that, when the wave impacts from the one side, if the boat's completely solid, then that particular spot has to take the entire impact as it spreads that impact shock load through the entire hull to the other side. That's when things start to really break. Whereas if there's flex, then that flex within the hulls and within the bulkheads takes up and disperses that load, that shock load, to dissipate it as it travels through. That's the whole point of shocks on a car or springs in different mechanical settings. So being a boat in fiberglass, you kind of have to plan for that as you build it and design it, which some do, some don't. Some do better than others. I'm sure naval architects will have lots of things to say about that. I'm not one. I've never had a formal education in architecture or engineering, but that is how my brain works. So I tend to take things apart in my head and put them back together. And then when I go to look at it, I can generally figure out how to take it apart and put it back together. And I've made a habit of doing things that people say can't be done. So who knows what the future holds. But those are some general ideas. I could, like short term, I'm thinking Canaveral. I want to check on a boatyard up there to see what the price is, because it might be cheaper than the Bahamas as far as buying materials, having stuff, being able to get stuff, right? If I don't have to buy everything ahead of time on what I might need and then head down to the Bahamas where there's no stores to go to. I mean, there's a hardware store, but you're paying for the shipping to pull it from Florida across into the Bahamas, go through everything there, and then be put into a store. That's a lot of extra cash that I don't need to spend if I don't have to. So that leads me to the idea of like, I have to bring everything. So I have to bring enough sandpaper to do the job. I've got to bring enough gel coat. I've got to bring enough polish. I've got to bring enough wax. I've got to bring enough this, that, and the other thing. All loaded onto my boat to overload my catamaran with weight and then sail over. If I can avoid that and find something that is as inexpensive or as doable within my finances to allow me to do it here, that allows me to save potentially a lot of money. So also, I really want to see a launch in person, preferably from my boat. So Canaveral's probably the next stop. After that, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Best laid plans get pregnant, so as far as I'm concerned, I've got a couple of general ideas. My idea is to go to Canaveral and hang out up there for a couple days, couple weeks, couple months, who knows. From there, it'll be either the Bahamas. I'll either haul out there, find another place that's cheaper to haul out, and haul out there, or the Bahamas. As far as the boat channel, the YouTube videos and all of that, filming everything, setting everything up, and editing and everything else is a big challenge for me. So I'm open to help. I'd love to have somebody that wants to join me and film and edit and maybe help out with work once in a while, but mostly just filming and editing. Little eye candy for some people wouldn't hurt either. Lord knows this is nothing special. But regardless, I will keep on going as I go. I'm going to try to edit this real quick and throw in a x-ray of my broken hand. I got tackled from behind by the bouncer as we were leaving the bar. When the police reviewed the tape, I don't know what tape they saw, but they said, "Oh, you tripped," and all three of you went down at the same time. To which I said, if I'm the guy in the middle, how did we all go down at the same time? And she said, well, what I saw was that you tripped. Nobody tackled you. And I was like, oh, nice. Good to know. Nice to know that the police and the bar are working together to keep us all safe from, I'm not sure what. Leaving a bar peacefully? Regardless, if you're going to Fat Cats in Boca, don't fuck with them, because instead of getting the manager, they get the bouncer and beat the fuck out of you. Because the guy that I was with got choked, got thrown around, smashed into tables, chairs. They threw him outside. He stood up, and then the asshole tackled him again, throttled him again, and that's when I started pulling him off to realize that I had a broken hand. So, yeah, it was a great night, followed by a couple more great nights. I was the sober driver, so instead of going to the hospital, I drove everybody home and then drove myself to the hospital. Memories. Regardless, that's pretty much my update for the moment. I will try to throw in some more stuff, but I really have not been filming or recording anything that's been going on with me for some time. I'll probably release this before I release the video where I rebuilt my mast. There's the mast and the boom, and rebuilt the mast step, which is behind there, and the table, and that whole thing down in there that was all rotten right underneath it, so I had to cut it out and build a new one and then move it back because it was in the wrong spot. Regardless, I do like that word. This is where we are. Let's see. 14%. It really is dead. But, let's see. Here we go. That's how I got out. In and out. I've upgraded my dinghy with some solar and a solar charge controller and a battery charger because I've killed the battery pretty good. And going back and forth. Not to there, because they got that all closed off. Been going all the way over there. And I've been stuck on my boat for about a week now with no place to go because, they've shut down all the access. But the solar panel for my dinghy is a plus. Solar charge controller, solar panel, and a 24 volt battery system. Is basically, it's in the middle of my face. It's like sparkles. Yeah. Maybe I'm just babbling now. I should get off the phone. But that's the hole that the mast was going up through, which is the wrong spot. It's about 6 inches too far back, which is why I was able to sail backwards a couple of times. But I've done some things. Oh, ouch. Oh, gotta be careful using that hand. I have put up some lights. Set up my globe so I can figure out where I am. So this line here, I'll probably keep for over the top of this, but I might take it completely out. I'm going to take it out from basically here is all going away. All that over there is going away so that this can go against the wall and up. Yeah. Gaining inches of height. looking at the full refit going, okay, I want to be able to walk through that door without hitting my head. That's probably, I mean, that's the head, but that's probably the one door that I won't change because it has a door. I'll probably leave that one also. That one is going to change a little bit, and that's definitely going to change. This is all coming out. I'll have some short shelves. I'll have some short shelves that come over to about here, and that's it. If it's that, if even that far, more likely it'll be like a 4-inch shelf. Little 4-inch shelf there, all the way down, and then take that out because I can walk through. Now, there is no bulkhead attachment there. It's here, and it's over here. So, this right up in there really is not as important. But, regardless, there's plenty to do. And I've been sitting on my ass for 2 weeks, so now I'm out of breath easy, and I'm getting a little chubby and a little weak compared to what I was. So, such is life. All right. Be well. I shall try to remain in contact. I shall try to stop filming up my nose. Those spots? Or is that just dirt? Don't know. At this point, not too worried about it.